Welcome to the Infuse Compassion podcast, hosted by me, Amy Quisenberry.
And me, Mark Carpenter.
We are on a mission to make this world a kinder place for us all by bringing healthier human connection to communities, families, and organizations of all types and sizes.
Our goal is to create stronger relationships, more inspired teams, increased trust, and improved results.
So let's get started with more ways to infuse compassion into our world. Welcome back to the Infuse Compassion podcast. I am so excited for our guest today. When I think about what she's going to talk about, the areas that she's going to go into, I know that my brain is going to expand in a million different ways. So let's go ahead and get into it. Mark, please do the introductions.
I am honored to do so. Thank you. We have with us today Lindsay Schiess. Lindsay is a speaker, therapist, professor at the University of Utah, and a podcast host. And that basically means she asks a lot of questions and never stops being fascinated by what makes people tick. This ties to her self-identity as a curious soul. Through her work, she helps individuals, teams, and organizations build resilience, strengthen relationships, and navigate life and work with more courage and compassion. Lindsay loves people, pancakes, and sleeping under the stars, although not necessarily all at once. She's a mom to four, a wife to one patient man. Those are her words, not mine. And believes that families are the greatest classroom for learning how to love, grow, mess up, say sorry, and try again and again and again. And I will give a hearty amen to that. More than anything, she loves people. And Lindsay believes deeply in the goodness of people and the remarkable capacity we all have to heal, grow, and show up for one another. So now you can see why we've invited Lindsay to this podcast. Lindsay, welcome to the Infuse Compassion podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. Appreciate it.
Oh, so glad to have you here. I want to go just to a statement that was in that introduction. In your work, you say that you help individuals, teams, and organizations build resilience, strengthen relationships, and navigate life and work with more courage and compassion. And so I'm curious as to what are some of the biggest challenges that you see as people are trying to navigate life in a productive way?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And, it's tricky because there's a lot of things where people come in and they say, okay, I just need help with this. I'm anxious, I'm depressed. I think one of the biggest challenges that, they feel anxious, they feel depressed, but I think there's a couple of things that are overarching, is that people are moving through life feeling overwhelmed, emotionally disconnected, and they're incredibly hard on themselves. And so I think that combination of things, it might be one of those things, lend us to feeling, oh, I'm anxious, I'm sad, I'm not motivated anymore. But I think at the root of it, we are struggling with feeling really disconnected. I would say from ourselves, from others, and from a higher power. I just really believe that we're walking through life in a disconnected state. And I think we're more disconnected than we have ever been before.
I'd love you to talk a little bit more about that. Well, why do you think that is? In talking to these people where you're seeing that struggle where people are feeling disconnected, what have you uncovered as to the root of that disconnection that people are feeling?
Well, I think it begins with connection to ourselves, right? Am I connected? Am I aware of what's going on inside of me? I mean, I will talk to people and I will say, okay, when you're feeling this anxiousness, when you're feeling this depression, where do you feel it in your body? And to be really honest, Mark, it's actually very hard for them to tell me often, like where they feel it. We're so used to ignoring our bodies. We're pushing through, we're tired and guess what? We can't sleep. And we're hungry and guess what? Too bad. We're really used to ignoring our bodies. And so getting back in touch with ourselves is really, really important. And I think that's where it begins, is we have lost connection with ourselves. And the second thing is that we really have lost connection with others. We're obviously digitally very connected, but in being digitally connected, we are emotionally extremely disconnected. And we need it. It's not just like it's a nice buzzword and something that is, nice to be connected. It's literally part of our makeup. We are meant for connection. We have to be connected to each other. And so we suffer when we're not.
So, when you're working with people, what are some of the techniques? What are some of the recommendations? Like, how are you helping people navigate through this?
Yeah. Great question, Amy. I think the first one is really awareness. Like if I'm aware of what's going on inside of me within myself first, right? Am I aware of when I am feeling overwhelmed? Am I aware what's going on in my body and my mind? That is number one, is awareness. And again, that might feel really basic, but I'm going to tell you it's not. We are really good again at ignoring. So awareness. The second one is once I realize that I'm not okay, something's going on inside of me. I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling afraid, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Then to lead with curiosity. So awareness and then curiosity. What is going on? That's interesting. I wonder why my stomach's in knots. I wonder why I feel my heart racing, or my mind's going off in a ton of different directions. What's going on? We often go from, okay, I'm aware of it. And then we go straight to shame or blame. We go straight to, oh, you know why? Because he did this or she said that, or look, I'm doing it again. Here I go again. I can't figure my crap out. But if we could stay in awareness and then curiosity, it gives us space to actually see what's going on inside of us without shame or blame.
That's
I,
so beautiful. I love that.
and I love those two words, awareness and curiosity.
Hmm.
So I just like to call those out. How do you help people get to that awareness, though? If they haven't been practicing doing that, how do you help people be more aware? And then I'll follow that up with, and how do people get more curious?
Yeah. It's a great question. And again, I always say it starts in your body. Your body is going to be your first indicator. So, really paying more attention to your body. And I have clients come in and I will say, okay, I want you to set an alarm morning, noon, and night. And I just want you to do a check in with your body because we're not used to checking in with our body. And I just want you when your alarm goes off, I just want you to do a body scan from head to toe. Where do you feel sensation? What's showing up for you? I want you just to be aware of it and honor it. Again, we're just getting more used to paying attention to ourselves. So that's one way that we can develop greater awareness about what's going on inside of us. The other piece of that I think is important is we sometimes our body will be our first indicator. When something's off, our body will tell us. But then almost like a millisecond later, our brain starts to go, oh, this is what's going on, or I'm worried about this. But our body is always going to be our first indicator, and our brain and our thinking is next. So to be aware of that sequence as well. The curiosity piece is a good one because we call them neural pathways, and neural pathways are what my brain does. And if I'm so used to going to shame or blame, I really have to do work on slowing things down and staying in curiosity about what's going on for me. So it's like I tell people, like when you go to the grocery store from your house, you go to the grocery store, you take the same road every time. You could kind of do it blindfolded, right? It's like you get there and you're like, how did I even get here? I don't even remember what turn I took because I'm just so used to doing it. The same principle applies in our brain. It's like we have a well-worn path in our brain of, oh, this is what I do when I feel uncomfortable. This is what I do when I'm aware that something's going on inside of me. I go to shame, I go to blame, I numb out. So actually not doing that takes a lot of effort, of conscious effort of saying, I'm actually going to go to the store backwards. I'm going to do it way differently. And the way to curiosity is if I can create a little bit of space and just ask questions. That's it. Like, I wonder why that's coming up for me. I wonder why that comment that person made me respond that way. I wonder why my stomach's in knots instead of, yeah, my stomach's in knots. It's because she's a jerk and she always does that, right? but just asking ourselves questions and recognizing that we're taking a different pathway, a neuro pathway, and it's going to take some time.
Oh, so as I'm listening to you talk, I'm so curious. In your time of being a therapist, how have you seen things change?
Mm.
Because when in your opening, you kind of alluded to how things are different now than how they were at a
Mhm.
certain time, and so I'm just curious, like, what are you seeing? How are things changing? How are people changing?
Yeah, it's a great question. A couple of things. I think over time, right now, we're actually talking about mental health. We're talking about it, we're aware of it, and it's not, if people talk about their therapist, they talk about going to therapy, which is awesome. So that's a big change that we're seeing is post COVID, we recognize we are in a mental health crisis and people are willing to talk about it, which is awesome. The other thing that I would say is not necessarily in my time as a therapist, but just the evolution of humanity. We really have gotten to a place where productivity is we bow at we are the idol of productivity is what has taken over. If you look historically, um, commercials used to be about, like, car commercials, they used to be about, we're showing leisure, we're showing people at pools and in really beautiful places. Car commercials now are, you see people that are going into work and they're going to that high rise because they're going to be productive and they're going to make money and they're going to be killing it. And so we've really changed culturally on what success looks like. It now looks like bigger, better, faster, stronger. That's what gives us value. That's what gives us purpose. That's what makes me enough and okay. And so the truth is, when that's what makes me enough and okay, then that's my driving force. And that has changed significantly, right? The other piece I would say is, again, our reliance on our technology has changed. We continue to have more technology, and in that wonderful space of having lots of information, we have become more and more disconnected from ourselves and each other. So those would be those three things. As I would say, we are we are less connected than we've ever been, and I would say technology is one of those reasons. The other is we bow to the idol of productivity, and the last one, and I would say is a positive, is that we are willing to talk about mental health. We know it is impactful. We know we need to discuss it, and thankfully we are.
So I want to jump in here with another question. Thank you for going over that and then doing the summary recap. I know that's going to be helpful for people.
Yeah.
Earlier, you talked about the connection, the belief in a higher power.
Mm.
I'd love for you to dig into this deeper and talk about the higher power and how having this connection and this feeling to a higher power can change somebody's experience walking this planet.
Mm. Yes. So I think sometimes we get nervous about talking about that because we want to be really respectful of where everyone's at and religiously, right? Religion and politics, the two things we don't talk about, right? And so sometimes when people hear that, they think, wait, how do you do that? Because how do you honor where people are at when it comes to that? And here's the truth, that when we have some type of faith in something bigger than ourselves, it makes this moment doable because there's something more than just me. There's something more than just this moment. And there's purpose beyond some of the suffering that's happening. It is so important. And the truth is, it doesn't matter what religious or spiritual practice you're a part of, it makes us have perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that word perspective that's in there too. Um, I want to. I want to. We're talking a lot about individuals here, and your work with individuals. I know you do a lot of work with teams as well. And so,
Yes.
from a leadership perspective, because this is the perspective I come in with. If I'm a leader, How do I help people, particularly when one of the challenges is achievement? And I'm responsible for getting achievement out of my team, but how do I make sure I'm getting achievement without damaging somebody's health
Mm,
because of some of those challenges that we face with the achievement mentality? So how
yeah.
do I strike that balance as a leader to really help me have a good, high performing, productive team, but also a well connected team?
Yeah. It's such an important issue, and it's one of the reasons I'm sure you're doing what you're doing, right? It's one of the reasons I work with teams, because we want to be productive, but we also want to retain good people, and we want to have these relationships, but at the end of the day, we're people are need to make money, and that's part of what we're doing, right? So I think a couple of things. I think it's incredible when we slow things down, and one, we actually choose to listen first and lead second. When we choose to say, you know what, I know there's things going on in your life. How are you? Tell me more. That question alone, right there, tell me more. It is profound, because we can say, how are you doing? And our answer is what? Good.
Great.
But until we say, you know what, I remember this about what happened with your child. Tell me more about that. I actually had a former boss that said to me, I know your boy's in Argentina and I know it's been hard. Tell me how he's doing. And I was blown away that one, she remembered, that two, she cared enough and took the time to sit and talk to me. Like, it engendered in me so much, like I now feel loyal to her in a different way. And I think what leaders don't understand is when you know the name of your employee's dog, guess what happens? All of a sudden they're like, you know what? Wow, this she actually cares. She's not just trying to get me to work harder and bring in more money and look better, but she cares about me as a person. So the truth is, when we slow down and we listen first and we care about our people, the natural outcome is productivity. The natural outcome, it is an amazing ROI. But sometimes we just think, oh no, we got to push, we got to do more, we got to push harder. The truth is, it's actually those soft skills that make the biggest difference.
Yeah. In fact, in a previous episode, we talked about soft skills being power skills.
Yeah.
Those people skills are the power skills of leadership.
Yep.
You made the comment, slow down and choose to listen first and lead second. And I hear that because listening is one of the key principles that I espouse too. And I
Mm.
say listening is leading.
Mm.
If you're listening, you really are leading. That is an essential part of leadership, is to listen intently to your team.
Amen. In fact, one of the books that I teach my students at the university is that it's called Listening Well. That's one of the books that we have. And I actually asked them last week, I said, what do you guys think of this book before you open it? And they said, it's like super basic. I mean, these are master's students that are learning the process of therapy, right? Like, why do we need to learn about listening well? And I'm like, just buckle up. You're going to be humbled, because there is so much to listening well that we're not great at, frankly. So I love that you're saying it's a power skill, because it is.
So I'm curious. A lot of what I think you talk about is the connection to other people,
Mhm.
right? So how are you seeing people get in their own way? I know we talked about the four key things, but what else are you seeing individuals do that's stopping them from making the connections, and how are you helping them get past it?
Yes. So, what is the main thing that I'm seeing with their lack of connection? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
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 I think we lack connection to ourselves. When we are honoring ourselves, and I can stay in connection with myself, I can do it better with other people, because I'm in a regulated state. I'm aware of what's going on for me. I'm okay with me, then I can hold space for you. But until I can do that, it's really I'm going to be kind of white knuckling my way in holding that space. In fact, I have a client who lost a child unexpectedly. And he said, it's interesting. People have such good intentions. They say they want to say the right thing, but so often it's really actually quite hurtful what people say and what they do. And as we discussed, the truth of the matter is people have a really hard time sitting in discomfort, and they want to tie a bow around things and wrap it up really nicely and package it so they don't have to witness your discomfort, because what does it do? It makes them uncomfortable, right? So when we can get comfortable in our own skin, when we can get comfortable with our own discomfort, guess what? We allow people to show up just as they are too. And that might be beautiful and messy and difficult and everything in between, but that we allow for that. I mean, that's when real connection happens, is in those vulnerable moments that are not scripted, that are not pre-rehearsed, but that are just honest and real and authentic. I mean, I would imagine you guys can think of times in your life where you think, some of those most impactful times are not the times that are all buttoned up and we're just doing the networking thing because that's what we do. But it's really like, hey, tell me what it's like for you. And then tell me more, right? That's when we feel like it's soul to soul. It's connecting. It's not just this, let's just pass the time and say what we need to because that's what we do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It 100% makes sense. And in a world where we are so disconnected, where we are so numb, where we are keeping each other pushed away from each other, how do we do that? How do we do that, Lindsay?
That is the golden question, Amy. It's the golden question. How do we do that? And here's what I would say is we've got to slow down. We just have to slow down. I actually have on my keychain, I have a comma. And that comma is because that's my reminder to take a beat, to take a breath, to slow down, and to be aware what's going on with me, what's going on with them. And you know what? To me, that is the biggest thing, is slowing down and take a beat, take a breath, take a beat, get curious. And that doesn't just happen when we're just going through the motions and doing the thing, right? Like we've got to slow down.
You've got two questions out there, and you've brought these up a couple of times. What's going on with them? What's going on with me? What are some other questions that you give to people or that people can use to help them slow down and stay in that curious mode?
Yeah. I think, even more than questions, it's really like techniques, I would say, because
Good.
questions are helpful for sure. And I believe in that curiosity, but some techniques, because again, we're so wired to just go, go, go. In fact, I had a client say to me this week, I'm wired and tired. And I was like, welcome to America. That how many of us feel wired and tired, right? And I would say one of the biggest things to help is to regulate ourselves, right? Where am I at? What's going on for me? Is breathing. Breathing is our number one nervous system technique that is going to help you get back to a state of regulation. It almost feels so simple to people. Like, are you kidding me? Breathing is not that hard. But when we really get aware of our breathing, right? And it's something as simple as take a deep breath for 4 and then exhale for 8. When we exhale slower than we inhale, it actually regulates our nervous system and allows us to get back in touch with our bodies and ourselves. And then again, we can connect with others.
My daughter uses that with her children all the time.
Mm, I
Take a
love
breath,
that. Yeah.
just breathe for a minute, and
It's
it does. It is. It's a reset.
It is a reset. And it's amazing because it kind of feels so simple. Like, what? Breathing? Really? Like, give me something else. I'll have clients say, like, come on, something else, I'm really start with your breathing. Like, start with your breathing. And that is the number one thing for regulation. The other thing I tell people to do is, the power of journaling. There's a lot of research now about how helpful journaling is. And part of it is just our ability to get everything out there. I call it brain dumping. I just say, put a journal by your bed and then use your phone, and you can voice memo in your phone. People will see me around the neighborhood walking, and I'm usually don't have my AirPods in, but I have my phone right next to me, and I'm just letting it fly. Anything that's going on in my brain, anything that's coming up, it's not edited, it's not filtered. It's just I'm getting it out. I'm getting it out because guess what? It's floating around in our brain, so we might as well get it out and make sense of what's going on for us. Sometimes we're afraid to say those things. I have clients that really struggle saying the hard thing, saying those heavy, hard things. And when they say it and you give voice to it, it actually helps us figure out what's going on inside of us and move through it instead of, oh, I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to push it away. Right.
Love it. Lindsay, I love the work that you're doing. Thank you for doing that and bringing that into the world, and for sharing it with our guests, our listeners here, who we call our compassionators, because they've opted into compassion. And so I'd love for you to share, how can our compassionators learn more about Lindsay Schiess? How can they get more of you and the work that you're doing?
Well, I'm on at my website's lindsayschiess.com, and my Instagram is lindsay.schiess. And that is probably the best way to find me. I'm also on LinkedIn as Lindsay Schiess. So that's probably the easiest way to find me.
And we'll have those links in the show notes as well to make it easy for people to get there. Amy, do you want to ask our last question?
I would love to. First, though, I just want to thank you, Lindsay, for the incredible work that you do. And not just that you speak about it, but you speak about it in such a beautifully articulate way. Um, I think sometimes I know I know a number of therapists, all brilliant, all wonderful. I can't always digest everything that they're saying. Sometimes it's just over where my head or my heart is. And I feel like that's something that's so powerful about what I experienced today in being in this space with you, is just you're so grounded, you're so in your heart. And I feel like everything is, I can receive everything that you're saying.
Mm.
Really feel it and I can really receive it. And I want to thank you for that.
What a compliment. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that, because it doesn't matter what you know, but if you can't really understand it and it doesn't feel palpable, like it doesn't matter. So thank you.
So our final question is, please share a tip with our compassionators on one thing that they can do to infuse compassion into their life this week.
Ooh, I love this. One tip. Ooh, where do we begin? I only got one, so I gotta choose wisely. You know what I would say is slowing down is an act of not just compassion. It might actually feel like an act of rebellion, because we live in a society that says don't do that. But the truth is, when we slow things down, when we take a pause, when we take a breath, it gives ourselves time to get back online. It gives ourselves time to get aware of what's going on inside of us. And then the same principle is true. When I slow down, I can hold space for people. I can sit with people. I can feel what's going on and attune to people in a different way. And I believe when we slow things down is when we truly connect. And that's what we need so badly. We are desperate for connection. But the truth is, until we decide to slow down, to take a beat, to get aware of what's going on inside of us, nothing's going to change. And the connection with others will not deepen. It will not grow until we do that. So that would be it. It would be one act of compassion / rebellion is slow down.
I love that as an act of rebellion as well as an act of compassion. I think that's great, and it's really true, because it feels so counter to the achievement mentality that we all have.
That's right.
Again, thank you, Lindsay, for taking the time with us, for being with us, and thank you, listeners, for joining us. I hope you'll tap into what Lindsay has said here. Re-listen to this episode; you'll probably get more out of it even the second time through. To slow it down, and to find that way to connect with yourself so you can connect better with others. We appreciate you listening. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Infuse Compassion podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, please share a review and like the podcast so other compassionators can join us. Until next time, let's all do something each day to infuse compassion into the world. For more information on our guests, see the show notes. For more information on Mark and Amy, go to infusecompassion.com.